Singer-songwriter Stephen Kellogg says he makes music to provide for his family, to share his thoughts with others, and to have a positive impact on them. With his signature storyteller writing, he's put together his first solo album in 10 years. It's called Blunderstone Rookery. Stephen Kellogg is married to his high school sweetheart and is the father of 4 girls. He joins me in the studio. Stephen, welcome.
How you doing?
How did you get into the music business?
You know, it really began when my sister took me to see a heavy metal band called Whitesnake when I was 10. And it just stayed with me, for my whole life. And it wasn't until later I thought, wow, what could I do for work? And then you started thinking about those shows, and the rest is extremely fuzzy to me. I just know it began with that Whitesnake concert, and it ends with me sitting here,
You say this in your bio, that you fell into this job, and that, quote, "There isn't another job I think I'd necessarily be suited for, so this is what I do."
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen in the music industry. You don't just fall into it.
I don't know. I certainly feel I did.
It's one of those things where people are like, "Oh, this is what I've always wanted to do. I always sing every chance I get." And then there wasn't anything else I wanted to do.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess I could, say some of that, but I really, where I grew up in a pretty affluent section of Connecticut, and there's a lot of, what are you really going to do, that goes on. And I think I probably absorbed that to some degree, so I wouldn't have wanted to admit that this was something that I maybe dreamt of doing. And I really, until I had no other options, I didn't play music. And then it was like, well, I guess this is what I'm going to do.
What did you study in college?
Communications is what I studied. Communicating.
So you are communicating.
I am. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
But at what point, Stephen, did you realize that this is something you could do for a living and actually support a family?
Well, that was just, I was having a hard time getting a summer job one year in college. And then I started playing gigs, and I had as much money in my pocket as everybody else did. And and that was like this epiphany, like, oh, wow, I guess I am doing this, but sometimes your perspective gets off and you don't even realize that you are doing it. I mean, I was on Universal Records, married and with a kid on the way, and people would say, like, what do you do? And I barely had an answer. It just felt weird to be like, I'm a musician. I'm a professional musician. It always seemed beyond the realm for me until very recently, where, now I'm pushing 40. It's like, well, yeah, this is what I do because I've been doing it a long time now.
Because there's nothing else to do, really.
Because there's nothing else to do. This is what we're going to do,
You gave a TED Talk about job satisfaction. Why do you think so many Americans are unsatisfied with their job?
That's a great question, and one I thought about a lot when I was preparing the talk. I think it has a lot to do with this fantasy that most of us have, that the other guy has it a little better, that that you're going to be happy when. And then without realizing it, a lot of times you get those things, or you get into the position that the other guy's in, and you still want more, So it's like it's not until you recognize that that's just sort of human nature that I think you can be really happy in the work that you're doing. So I think a lot of folks go out and they're envisioning, oh man, there's just got to be something else out there that's going to be more fulfilling and funner and more satisfying. But it really comes down to, I think, learning to love what it is you're doing and steer towards things that you're enjoying,
Have you always liked your jobs, whatever various jobs you had?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have bad days like everybody, but even when I was, a stock boy at Brooks Pharmacy, it's kind of like, well, I'm going to show up here because I've agreed to take this job and I've got to show up to work. You can either be happy in that and enjoy the experience as much as is possible, or you can be miserable and complain and talk about how much you don't want to do it. And so to me, it's like, well, if you got to choose between those two options, I'll choose to be happy, and maybe geared towards finding another job that's a little more challenging, but at the same time, there's more choice involved than I think we give the credit for being.
Stephen Kellogg is in the studio with me. He's a singer and songwriter. His album is called Blunderstone Rookery. Tell me about the songwriting process. Do you think of the lyrics first? Do you write those down and then fit a melody to it?
Generally speaking, I do. I'm a writer first and foremost, and kind of a singer and a guitarist afterwards. So I generally start with the lyrics, but I also try not to get too boxed in. There's just not a lot of rules when it comes to songwriting. You got to be willing to step outside. So sometimes I'll flip it on its head. But
do you ever worry about running out of ideas for songs?
Yeah, it's funny. I went to a Q&A with Jim Gaffigan recently, and that's what I asked him about jokes. And I was surprised that he said no, but now you're asking me the same question about songs, and I'd say no. I think there'll always be things to write about.
Things will just bubble up and things.
As long as you're experiencing emotion, there's always going to be songs to write,
Tell me about this name, Blunderstone Rookery.
Yeah, doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. It's ironic, but I was reading the book David Copperfield while I did the record. That book's been really important to me, and Blunderstone Rookery is a reference to that book. It was David Copperfield's boyhood home, which was a happy place that then becomes an unhappy place, and then he comes back as a man and makes his peace with it. And I thought that was a great metaphor for the songs on this record. It's about going through hard times and coming out the other side hopeful.
Your music has been described in a lot of different ways. How do you describe it?
I'd call it rock and roll with a lot of lyrics.
With lyrics you can actually hear and understand?
Yeah, that's what my mom would probably. She always says, like, why, I like that you can hear what you're saying. So I guess that's it. But I'm still a rocker at heart, but my voice could go or my hands could be broken, but as long as those words are there, that's what I hang my hat on every night.
What do you think this album says about you?
It's a good question. I can't say what it says about me.
What do you want it to say about you?
Well, all my work is sort of I'm creating my legacy. I view it as that, and I'm not talking about my legacy in the sense of Abraham Lincoln or anything like that, but more in terms of the grand nature of my legacy for all to hear. But to me, this is what I want my kids to know. This is what I want the people I love to know. This is, every record is that. It's just what's really important to me, If there was no tomorrow, what would I want to have said? And that's what I try to make my music about.
I did want to ask you about that because your Twitter description says that you're, quote, using words and intention in hopes of a positive legacy for my family.
There's just nothing more important to me than my family and loved ones. And
what's the legacy you want to leave them?
Well, I want them to believe in love. I want them to believe in that you can always make things better, no matter how bleak a situation is or challenging a situation is. I want them to be people that don't give up or say, well, that's just how things are. And I don't see the world as getting any easier to live in, so I want to give them all the possible tools that I can to help them with that moving forward.
I know that your family is very important to you, but how do you reconcile spending time with your family and all the time you spend on the road touring?
It is a conundrum that my favorite thing to do takes me away from my favorite people to be around. But the way I reconcile it is this. I do the best I can to keep in touch. I send them postcards from every city, and I hope that they'll take away an example of, if you have a dream or something that you're good at, that you'll go out and do it, even if it's hard. Even if there's sacrifice involved. I think that's important. It makes for it's made my life richer, and I want them to take that lesson away. And so even at the expense of the time that would be lovely to spend together, I hope that my children, and we'll walk away with that, you know.
Your daughter's names are tattooed on your arm.
Yeah. Sophia, Adeline, Noelle, and Greta, which the acronym unintentionally, but it spells sang.
You could have had Olivia and then it would have been song. That would have been really cool.
I know, we screwed up. What can I say, Mimi? We screwed up.
On the vowel.
I know.
Stephen Kellogg is in the studio with me. He's a singer and songwriter. His album is called Blunderstone Rookery. You've performed at a children's hospital. Tell me about that.
Yeah, several. We, I try to. This tour we stopped at the Seattle Children's Hospital, but started some years ago when I was watching a movie and I saw the St. Jude ad, and I asked my manager if he could just call them up and see if we could go in and play, and I did, and that just changed my life, because that's, pediatric cancer and pediatric illness is one of the few things that I think everybody can agree on. Yes, let's see what we can do to stop this. So it started to just become a thing, and we started doing some fun drives around that. And whenever possible, I've been making visits to the Children's Hospital, because I just get a lot out of trying to be around them and brighten their day. And
what kind of songs do you sing for them?
Well, I usually I'm not Raffi, I don't really, so I don't do that. But I sing, I sing some of my more upbeat and hopeful songs that I think they'll, be into. And I have kids, so I can see which ones my kids are into and which ones their eyes kind of glaze over. And then I adapt. I do a few children's songs that I like, and I adapt some of my songs to be. I've got this one song about moonshine that I change into a song about cake, So I do a couple of moves like that,
Well, speaking of songs that are kind of a little bit heavy, there's a song called Good Red Wine, and it's about a couple having problems. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Good Red Wine is just, I absolutely adore my wife, but I think in any relationship you're gonna come across challenges, and it's finding your way through and figuring out how to reinvigorate things. And it's one of those songs that I wrote the words in a flash, and I thought, what is this little story? And then I started singing it, and I was moved, because I realized there was a lot more of myself in that song than I would care to admit, and I feel that when I play it, but. That idea.
I'm going to read you a part of the lyrics, and then you can comment on it. She says, "Why did you never take me to Paris or write my name in the stars? Why, when you see that I need it the most, don't you try to take me in your arms?" Whispering sweet consolations as if the die weren't cast. He looked surprised and said, "I guess because you never asked. You never asked, you never asked. There's nothing I can do that can change the past."
Yeah, there's just so many times in relationships, my own and others, where I see people just missing by just a little. It's just that communication may be a cliche, but it's like you just missed that spot. And that's very much what the song's about, and seeing it from, in that case, that's sort of the woman asking, and then when it goes over to the man and he says, why do you roll your eyes at my stories and the jokes that you used to like, And that's an experience I know as a man that I've had, and just hopefully in that song, just shining a light on when you step outside it, you shine a light on. They're not missing by much. It's like I didn't know you wanted to go to Paris. I didn't know that bothered you when I didn't laugh at that old joke. And once you realize it is important to the people you love, you can make it better. And that song ends, with a hopeful wish. Yeah.
Singer-songwriter Stephen Kellogg is in the studio with me. The album is Blunderstone Rookery. There's a song named Thanksgiving, and you're going to sing that for us in the studio, but I want you to talk about that.
That song was, I after having written a lot of songs over the years, you've written a lot of certain types of songs. But one song I had never written was a complete play. It was always snapshots or one act of a play. But I'd always...
Of your life, you mean?
Well, of any life. Just, there was always vignettes, and I wanted to write a song that was fuller in scope than that. Something which would require something longer and bigger and that spanned more time. And I'd endeavored to do it a bunch of times and not quite ended up with that. So on this album, I got a hold of an idea and started writing it. And what became Thanksgiving really is a five acts to me. I mean, there's a prelude, and then it ends up being the course of a man's life. And
is it your life?
A lot of it is, a lot of it is. Not everything's literal. That's kind of how I write, where there's definitely pieces of other people's lives. But if there wasn't a lot of me in there, I wouldn't be able to sing it every night. So, and once we got in, when I was writing that song, once we started getting under the hood and really letting it fly and not feeling the constraints of a traditional song that has to end in 3.5 minutes, and just said, all right, we're in now, let's go for it. That's when it got good. That's when it got exciting and thrilling to play and to be a part of. It's like an experience.
It is 10 minutes long.
It's not short. Yeah. Yeah.
How are fans reacting to it?
I mean, I think that they're enjoying the ride. It's a ride. It's a ride for me. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking to feel alive, and I always feel alive when I get in there. And I think, I've gotten some awesome feedback from people about this song.
How are you feeling about the album in general?
I feel great. I feel great about it. I love songs are like friends. Like when you get one that's good, it holds up for you. And these songs have been really exciting to play live. My friend Josh Ritter says, we don't get to be the judges of our own work. That's for other people. And he's right. So it's a little too fresh or new to say how this will stand up against the other songs. But I do know that being out live, I've never enjoyed the experience of sharing a group of songs as much as I've enjoyed sharing these songs.
Okay, let's hear Thanksgiving, and I'll just say that Stephen Kellogg is in the studio with me. He's a singer and songwriter. The album is Blunderstone Rookery, and he's going to sing Thanksgiving for us.
Awesome. Oh, Thanksgiving, the harvest draws to a close. Pride of man will swallow him, for he reaps what he sows. Oh, living is harder every day. Only in the darkness can you see you've lost your way. Well, I recollect the rose of Sharon had come back again, and the trees were blowing in the breeze all high above my head, when a cavalcade of memories appeared to me in words I wished I'd said. From that point on, a song stayed in my thoughts most of the time. But when I tried to sing it out loud, it would always leave my mind, like the things you know are true, but never can explain when you get asked. A melody floating just within your grasp. It goes. When I was a child, I always remember the way I would feel for Thursday, November. My uncles would play, there would be music, and I was taking it in. Only much later, I noticed the drinking, the feeling my family was growing and sinking. St. Petersburg Palace, stained glass and sun, they were well on their way. I had only begun to go. Ba 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 ba. So boy meets a girl, Venus and Adonis, friendship on fire, adulthood upon us. They teach you to fly, then spend all of their time standing over you, clipping your wings. Where there was a me, there could be an us. I dreamt about money, she talked about trust. She is my axis, death is by foxes, and we were well on our way. In America, this is home. Stories, everybody's got one. This is mine, you will have your own. Nothing like the real thing, nothing like it. It's cleaner than Christmas or our wedding day. I knew her father was pissed, though he wouldn't say it, and I would be too. And someday I will be, no kid could be good enough. I'm taking on Sunday, taking on owls, catching a glimpse of the wolf as it howls. Got a lot of nice things, got a really nice house, and done is so beautiful. On Father's Day, I'm thinking of mothers. I can only suppose they're thinking of others. Insurance is up, it came in the mail. Yeah, it kills me what they're charging for little white pills, yeah. So ba 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 ba. I blow through the years like a mother defending its own, and I fear I'm driving on spare tires. Seems like I'll never get home, like I'll never get home, like I'm getting threadbare. I can't find my way. She showed me the map, and I still can't believe I acted like that. Just follow your heart up past most of the brain. If you get lost at reason, move down past pain. I'll see you in court and bring your raincoat. I'm keeping the kids, I'm keeping the house. It takes minutes to make us a baby and years to remember what that was about. In America, this is home. Stories, everybody's got one. When we die, what will we have done? Nothing like the real thing, nothing like it. It's snowing in April, something's changing in me. That's the sound of a heart, it's getting clean, baby. I traded in booze for loads of caffeine, and my friends, they traded in me. Another Thanksgiving, and I'm all alone. My favorite holiday, and nobody's home. No shame in the past, no pride in the future. I know, believe me, I know. Those years we spent talking, learning to agree. The truth is, I'm just thankful you tolerated me. There's so many thorns and not enough roses. My girls as they sleep, the eye as it closes. This year for Thanksgiving, I'm keeping my list short. No one gets married, no one gets divorced. Can you imagine? What if the world could stand still for even a day? If there was no crime, no rape and no killing, addiction suspended, no cutting or drilling. If everyone took the day off and hung out with their friends, their favorite friends. I know what you're saying, it's not realistic. I've heard it my whole life, look at the statistics. But lucky for us, I'm not a guy that gives up. I never give up. 'Cause I go la 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 la. I go la 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 la. I go la 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 la. Oh, Thanksgiving, the harvest draws to a close. Redemption is a bugle, humility composed. Sweet forgiveness is thawing across frozen ground, casting light eternally, carrying its sound, and it sounds like
That's singer-songwriter Stephen Kellogg singing Thanksgiving from his album Blunderstone Rookery. Stephen, thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Till they're saying, why don't we take